When the Diecast International Builders announced that their February build was going to be a red build, I knew I wanted to do one of these Johnny Lightning Sling Shot castings. These came out in 1970, and they're the old topper Johnny Lightning, the original Johnny Lightning. I had three of these, and I figured, see that one, that's the one that you're going to see in this build. It's going to be this gold one that I'm going to redo in a different color. But it had two good engines on it with intakes that face the sides, which is a little odd. To get those engines out, you have to, I ended up putting a screwdriver behind them and then figuring out you have to lift on the front and then they'll slide out. As you kind of see, well, almost see here. I'm going to give it another try. But I do end up, since this is a red build, I'm going to end up painting it red. Go figure. I am trying to restore or redo two of these. This gold one you're going to see me redo in this video, and hopefully in the not too distant future, you're going to get to see me do the orange one up there at the top right that had a couple stickers on it and stuff. I do end up using flits after I get the body out of the stripper. I use citrus strip to strip these things. I did polish it up with the flits, like I said, as you see there, because I'm going to use the metal cast paint on it. And so I wanted to give it a good shine, which the flits allows me to do. The IPA is to clean off any residue polish or grease or pretty much anything that won't make the paint stick to it. Since it's polished up, it's like doing a Spectraflame paint in that you don't put a primer down and you end up spraying onto the bare metal. There's the metal cast red that I use and the Worth clear lacquer that goes over it at the end. It's a combination that works out really well for me. I've done it a lot in the past. So since that's off to paint, there's the engines. And as you can see, these are out of 3 castings, which would have 6 engines in total. These are the 2 best ones that happen to be on this particular casting. So I do shoot those with aluminum chrome spray. Then for the wheels, I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And I thought, and this you saw had skinnies, a skinny on the front. And then another casting had fat tires on the front. And I've seen all kinds of combinations on eBay. But in reality, doing some research, it looks like it originally came out with skinnies on the front. I don't end up doing that for a reason that I'll explain here in a little bit. But I wanted to take the bearings off and slide those axles out of there. It worked out. It ends up working out pretty well. But I thought, well, hopefully I can just redo the axle somehow. But I did some looking around. I didn't want to try and re-chrome these wheels because I just didn't think it would look good. But I wanted to have a Johnny Lightning look to it. So checking eBay, I found these Johnny Lightning wheel kits. They're from Johnny Lightning, but they have axles on them already and everything. It's a slightly fatter axle. That's the only problem. As you can see, it's a pretty healthy set of wheels. They aren't real riders. They are hard plastic. They're very similar to the original wheels. And I realized that if you press on the outer edges of these, you can pop the chrome centers out, which ends up coming in really handy. So what I figured I would do, because the axles, again, are slightly thicker on these wheels from the packs, I took the pin vise, very small bit, and drilled down that original axle path just ever so slightly larger. Then I polished up the base, as you see there. The metal, to be honest, is crappy. So it doesn't turn out all that great. And I did a posting mentioning that the one consistent thing with Johnny Lightning castings is the inconsistency of the metal. And for this one, the base had the crappy metal. Swid the axle on the back. It has bigs in the back, smalls in the fronts, but they're fat on both. No skinnies. But swid the axle through, and then I use, just as you see me do before, put a little tiny piece of axle tube over that piece of the axle and then super glue it in place. This has worked out really well for me on a lot of different applications. I even have a short video that talks about it. It's a really handy trick to use. Super glue holds it great in place. It's a pretty solid fixture the way it ends up holding it there. I like using the toothpick to apply the super glue. It's gel super glue, so it's not going to go running everywhere in the first place. The toothpick lets me apply it a little more precise than I could just from the tip of the tube. So once those are pretty solid in place, I did use kicker accelerant on it. They're not going anywhere, and then it was time just to pop those caps back over those tires. And you see me doing that there. Again, these are hard plastic wheels, hard plastic tires, and the wheels themselves are hard plastic. They aren't like real riders. They don't have a soft rubber around them. But still, I like the look. It reminded me of the original Johnny Lightning. Rolls like a champ. Can't complain about that. The glass, excuse me, once again, I'm amazed at how the glass on Johnny Lightning's holds up. I don't know what they made their glass out of. If they just did it thicker than, say, Hot Wheels. But the glass is remarkably good so many times on these things. I don't know if it's the shape or what. If anything, the way this thing sticks up over the casting, you would have assumed this thing would have been abused. But it wasn't. It's in great shape. I don't even gauzy this. But if you're playing the gauzy game, gauzy, I didn't use gauzy. So I just polish it up. There you see the body after paint. Then it's just a matter of sliding the engines back on. I did, like I say, hit those with the aluminum chrome paint. I like the look of that. It has a very realistic look to me. And more often than not, when I use that and I look at the end results, I'm really happy. This engine was a little tougher to get in, so I had to wiggle it a little bit more than the other one to force it into place. As you saw when I removed them, it took a little leverage to do, so it took a little leverage to get it back in. But, the Johnny Lightning castings, some of them, like looking at this one, there's not a lot of design to it. It's just like a square box, a long, skinny box. But there's something just really cool about it at the same time. I like the Johnny, especially the old topper, Johnny Lightning castings. And it's just a matter of throwing this back together. Like I said, I am going to try and do a resto on the other casting, the one that had the stickers on it. I did end up throwing that in stripper as well. And the metal on that body wasn't nearly as good as it was on this one. So that does not end up being a Spectraflame type paint. It ends up being just a solid color. It is going to be red. So you should be seeing that shortly as well. The problem is I have to try and redo one of the engines because I have one remaining engine that looks right, and then one has one of the intakes broken off. So I'm trying to recast that somehow. And I can't recast the whole engine because it's just far too intricate for me to do properly, at least with my skills. So there you see how it rolls. Rolls great. But there's the pile up. There you see the like orangish one with the intake on the engine broken off. See that left intake? I'm tempted to just throw regular engines back there and have the intakes at the side. But I'm sure I'd get a lot of harassment once I posted it, asking me, what are you thinking? There you see the skinny wheel on the front of that. But if you look at the orange one below, see how it has fats on the front? So I'm sure kids swapped them around too. So there you see the pile up. Here's where this one ended up. And you kind of see what I'm saying about the glass? How for that glass sticking up the way it is, it's amazing that that thing wasn't easily shattered. There's nothing on that body to protect it. The engines on the back were worn, but somehow it made it through. And again, this is old. You know, we're talking 1970. That was a long time ago. I mean, sure, I'm more than that old. Anyhow, here's some glamour shots. I hope you enjoy this video. Thanks to the DIBs for throwing on this event. Be sure and check out all of the other builds in this invitational. Thanks for watching. Stay safe and healthy out there, everybody. Catch you in the next one.